On this episode of Falmouth in Focus, parents take to the sidewalks to voice concerns about a local school proposal. Farming Falmouth's community orchard comes of age with a fresh fall taste of apples straight from the tree. And a local genius attracts acclaim and a major cash award with his efforts to track the ocean's role in climate regulation. And yes, of course, he is with WHOI. This is Falmouth in Focus, and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, our bi-monthly roundup of local events and FCTV member engagement with the community. I'm Michael Kasparian.
And I'm Eileen Preston. The proposal to merge East Falmouth and T-Ticket schools has raised concerns with the parents of our community, with the potential closure of one of these schools at the center of the debate. Parents and community members have come together, forming the group Parents for Pause to advocate for more deliberation before this decision is finalized. FCTV was there as they expressed some of their concerns about the impact of the proposal that it could have on local education.
We're protesting the merging of East Falmouth and T-Ticket.
I am a mom to 3 children that are at T-Ticket right now, and I'm also staff in the TIP program, which is the Therapeutic Intervention Program for children who are on the spectrum. I work at T-Ticket as well. Proposal number 1 would mean that all of my children would go to the school. They'd be squished in classrooms. They would have art on a cart. They would not have a music room. It would be very unfair considering that North Falmouth is not being touched, Mullen Hall is not being touched, where we'll cram over 400 children in one building. They're not going to have the same learning experience. Proposal number 2 means that my family is going to be split up. I will have children at one elementary school versus the other elementary school, and I truly can't even wrap my head around what that looks like due to the fact that busing is already a huge issue in this town, and how are we going to add double the busing for double the schools for families like my own? The third option would mean that my first grader, if he was to kind of stick it out until they did the 4-year plan, he would be alone in the building as a 4th grader, only hanging out with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds, which again is not an equitable learning experience for the children that are of T-Ticket.
I am a parent to 4 boys who have all been through some form of special education services. I have 1 child at East Falmouth right now, and I have 1 child at T-Ticket right now. And the changes they're proposing are extremely alarming. Kids who need additional assistance need the space to do that, and that is not what they're going to be allowed in these plans. And these plans are quite honestly going to be packing our children like sardines, and they're people. And they need to be treated like people.
I am staff, like I said, at T-Ticket. When the superintendent showed up on September 16th, she dropped a bomb. Immediately, we couldn't even process it. We had to walk in, put our huge smiles on, knowing that the building could be closed next year. But we needed to put the brave face on to help keep our children educated and learning and keep their environment strong. I'm concerned about every aspect of this for the children who are Gen Ed, for the children with the high needs, for the TIP program. I mean, everybody is affected by this.
And also, we don't know what the town is going to look like over the next few years as we recover from COVID. And the town is trying really hard to get new young families into town. And if we start closing down schools, that's going to make it really difficult to give those kids the education they need if we succeed in getting them into town.
I think the most important thing is we need a pause. There's not enough data. We're running based on a lot of assumptions and projections, but not actual factual information. And if a change needs to be happened, it needs to happen across the board. Redistrict the entire town. You can't redistrict part of the town.
Save our schools! Save our schools! Save our schools!
As the community continues to engage in discussions about the future of East Falmouth and T-Ticket schools, the concerns of parents, educators, and local residents remain at the forefront. Keep following FCTV, and we'll bring you the discussions impacting Falmouth's educational landscape.
The final weeks are elapsing before what many are describing as one of the most consequential election days in American history. Tuesday, November 5th, is the historic occasion. And the League of Women Voters reminds us that democracy is not a spectator sport. Massachusetts makes it easy to make sure your vote gets included. You have until October 26th to register for the general election, and you have until October 29th to request a mail-in ballot. In-person early voting is available every day at Town Hall from October 29th through November 1st. So vote. It's our right and our duty.
Michael, for better or worse, there's been a lot of talk about election security this time around. Here in Falmouth, elections are overseen by Town Clerk Michael Palmer, and he's doing his best to make sure people get it straight. Our elections are reliable.
Right.
During town elections back in May, he explained to FCTV how the early voting and voting by mail process works. Let's replay that short clip now.
Early voting in person and early voting by mail have really changed the complexity of running elections, and it's quite a process. You used to go in, you used to take the ballot, put it through the ballot box, and now there's an application. The application has to be processed, and we have to mail you a ballot, you have to mail it back to us, and then we have to take it out of the envelope, and then we have to record it, and then we have to come here and take them out of the envelope and then put them through our high-speed tabulator, which stores the results until election night. We don't have access to that data until election night.
So there are some extra steps when it comes to making sure everyone has access to the vote. But Michael Palmer says that does not compromise the process. The Falmouth League of Women Voters invited him and an election expert to a recent event to answer questions about our local election process. Here's a short excerpt of that event.
The other equipment that is new in the last 10 years, this is, and everyone's voted recently, this is a poll pad. And rather than have paper in and out books, we were able to load all the database with all the election files onto these poll pads. They don't capture any vote. All they do is hold the database of registered voters in the town of Falmouth, and we use this to check people off as they come into each polling place. What this allows us to do is, in real time, it won't allow anybody to vote twice. Likewise, with early voting, we're using these to check in the early voting ballots. That gets updated every single night in our on the poll pads, but in our state computer system, and then the poll pads are updated every single day. So if someone comes in on Tuesday, they can't come in on Friday and try to vote again, because the poll pad's going to say you already have voted. I've got a lot of questions about automatic voter registration. That's when you go to the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and they're saying illegal aliens are getting driver's license and they're automatically voted. They're automatically being registered to vote. That is far from the truth. So when you go to the Registry of Motor Vehicles to update your license, you must provide the RMV with either a passport, a U.S. birth certificate, or U.S. naturalization papers. And if you don't, you will not be registered to vote. I believe that all the results, election results in the town of Falmouth, have accurately reflected the will and the intent of the voters of Falmouth.
That full election event is available to watch in its entirety on fctv.org.
Just check your schedule and you can see when it is playing. So, have you voted already?
I have. The second it came in the mail, I dashed it off.
That's wonderful, yeah. I'm really glad.
What about you?
I haven't. I like to go on election day and see all the folks who are volunteering there.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like a community thing for me. I like to do it because they work so hard and they're part of the process. It really ensures that our voting security is, on target. All the hard work that Michael Palmer is talking about that goes into it. So, if you haven't had time to see that clip, make sure you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some relationships are built one cup at a time. This month's Coffee with a Cop event was held at Pie in the Sky in Woods Hole. Chief Jeff Laurie, some of his command staff, and even a few of the newest hires from the Falmouth Police Department were there.
Hi, I'm Officer Julia Massey. I run the community engagement team for the Falmouth Police Department.
So my name is Patrick Foley. I'm a patrol officer with the department.
My name's Officer Dominic Viola.
I'm Officer Garcia.
I'm Officer Sean Canestraro.
So I'm Officer Rose.
So my name is Molly, and I am a clinical social worker that works with the Falmouth Police Department.
My name's Officer Anthony Fusaro. I've been a police officer for about 3.5 years.
My name's Jeff Laurie. I'm currently the temporary caretaker of the Falmouth Police Department. I'm the Chief of Police.
We're at around 30, probably 35 officers that have joined the community engagement team. And we do things such as what we're at right now, which is Coffee with a Cop.
It's an event we try and have as often as possible, at least once a month, where we come out to a local coffee shop or restaurant and be able to interact with the public.
Touch base with the community, have a good time, and enjoy some coffee and hang out.
My favorite part is just getting to know everybody, and that's what we're doing here. It's good to just talk to people, get a change of pace, and get to know people, outside of normal calls for service.
Kind of enmesh the community and the police department, get to know the officers that are working your town, get to know the community members that are in the town.
Interact with our community in a laid-back, friendly way so that the first time that they meet some of us isn't on a terrible day.
Yeah, we love getting coffee, pastries here, and we actually, I don't know, the event came to us in a way, and so,
we walked into it.
We happened to be showing my niece and her boyfriend around town and came down to Woods Hole to go up to WHOI to the visitor center. And we were walking around, and all of a sudden my niece and my husband decided they needed some caffeine. So we came here, and here we are. They're having this nice event, Coffee with a Cop. So we've had a chance to talk to a few people, say hello, talk to the police officers about what we love about Falmouth, what they love about Falmouth, and just enjoying the day.
I think this is a great way to bring the community and the police department and fire department, public servants together with folks, and build perhaps more appreciation for what they do on a day-to-day basis and appreciation for how the public sees them.
I think it's really good for the community, for us to be out there, and then also, as total as for community engagement. I think having civil service folks like police, firefighter, EMS being out in the community, meeting the people that we serve, and also giving back.
The support from the community here in Falmouth is unreal. I mean, whether I'm working or not working and I just go to a store or a restaurant in Falmouth, there's people thanking me for what I do, what we do, and I'm new and I can't believe that. I think that's awesome.
It's just a beautiful community. Love living here, being a Falmouth resident, and I love working here.
On behalf of the Falmouth Police Department, we really appreciate opportunities like this, Coffee with a Cop at Pie in the Sky, just to touch base with the community and have a nice human interaction, Coffee with a Cop.
I think it's great that, Chief Laurie and his staff are going out because the personal connections are so important. If you have questions, you can go, you can meet, talk one-on-one. And I think what it does is really underscore how the Falmouth Police Department is partnering with the local community, for the benefit of all.
And I love that the social worker comes out as well. So many times when people meet the police, it's a difficult time. So it's nice to see them just as members of our community.
Right.
Yeah,
neighbors helping neighbors, and that's what it's all about.
There you go.
Yeah. When Falmouth in Focus returns, it's apple season at a local orchard that didn't even exist 4 years ago.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Food can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
The Kerwin-Murray Tour de Falmouth brought cyclists together this month to raise funds for the Falmouth Homeless Prevention Program. Organizers describe the tour as a fun ride, not a race. Riders can pick between a 30-mile course and a 10-mile course. Both of them begin and end at Surf Drive. The funds help to prevent cases of homelessness before they can start.
Anytime you can avoid a situation where someone is unhoused,
it's not only better for their dignity, which is super important, but also it's less expensive.
And now to another bike race, the 18th annual Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride, where cyclists took on scenic routes through farmland and coastal back roads to raise funds for clean water in Buzzards Bay.
I'm Corin Peterson. I am the Vice President of Clean Water Advocacy for the Buzzards Bay Coalition, and we are at the 18th annual Watershed Ride for clean water for Buzzards Bay. So I've been with the coalition for almost 20 years. This ride has grown exponentially every year, and so has the fundraising that comes with this ride. And all the more riders we have and the more money that our riders raise, is we do more with cleaning up Buzzards Bay, whether that is protecting more land, doing better science for the bay, and advocating for real solutions to clean up Buzzards Bay. This year we had 322 registered riders. Some of them did 100 miles from Little Compton, Rhode Island, 75 miles from Horseneck Beach in Westport, and 35 miles from Rochester. They've raised more than $275,000 so far this year, and the fundraising hasn't stopped. So we are super thankful to our riders and all of their donors.
This is the second time doing this ride. The first time we tried to do this ride, it was blowing 30 out of the northeast, and we rode up, went for 65 miles, and they stopped it short.
We both grew up in Newport, but sailing around and cruising around here a lot, so we spend a ton of time on Buzzards Bay. And the work that the coalition's done for trails and all kinds of stuff, I think, is really important.
It couldn't have been a nicer course, and as pretty active users of the bay, it's nice to do something for it. So cheers to them for organizing this.
I'm Mark Rasmussen. I'm president of Buzzards Bay Coalition. We're here at the 18th annual Watershed Ride in Woods Hole. So there are 322 people on the road with us today. They're from all over the region. We started the ride this morning in Little Compton in Rhode Island, and it ends here in Woods Hole. So there are teams from all the bay towns and from pretty all over eastern Massachusetts. So our organization is dedicated to protecting clean water in all the bay communities, and this is one of the key ways that we draw attention to the fact that the whole bay is connected. Most of the threats to the bay come from the watershed that drains to the bay, and there are 21 towns in that watershed. So the objective of this ride from the beginning was to try to come through as many of those towns in one event that bound all those towns together and made the point that to care about the bay means caring about the land that drains to it.
You can learn more about the annual Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride by visiting savebuzzardsbay.org.
When it comes to fall apple picking season, those of us on the Cape have generally had to cast our gaze over the bridge. Not too many opportunities nearby. But FCTV member Farming Falmouth is working to change that. 3 years ago, they broke ground on a community orchard. Time flies and nature's done its work. Visitors to the orchard got a taste of apples straight from the trees this month. Here's a closer look.
It really was a dream. What we're doing right here is we're trying to build a future, something that doesn't exist anywhere around here. A pick your own community orchard. Our volunteers laid wood chips, put down cardboard, created the beds, added compost. The Falmouth Garden Club gave us a check to buy materials.
And here we are.
And here we are
3 years later. Flourishing trees and beautiful apples.
And we have flourishing trees thanks to the most amazing orchard steward. That's Jeff Silcox.
These apples are freshly picked yesterday. They're organic. They've never had any synthetic pesticides or fertilizers applied.
Those apples that you can buy in the store right now in the tote bags have been stored since last fall. They're under a blanket of nitrogen, they're mushy, there's no flavor, so completely different experience.
We're going to be sampling today the early varieties, which are Macintoshes, Macowns or Macoons, depending on how you want to pronounce them. And I think some early Liberties and one other variety. Do you recall?
Macintosh?
No, we've said Macintosh.
Macoun, I forgot.
Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp!
The thing to bear in mind is these are, in tree years, these are babies. Apple trees can live up to 200 years. So a 4-year-old tree is still an infant. So each year they'll get stronger, they'll produce more. The idea is to grow small trees, grow them close together. You're sort of stunting their growth, but trying to really produce a lot of fruit.
This one is really crispy, really sweet, and has a nice tartness. Has like the dry skin.
We're both aware that the best time to plant apple trees is 3 or 4 years ago. And knowing that these were planted about that time ago, it is inspirational. We can't turn the clock back. We had the opportunity 3 years ago to start this, but
now is the time.
it's never too late.
An orchard is a long-term thing. It's perennial, it's long-lived, and it's one of the things that's missing on the Cape in terms of our food supply.
Right.
Is fruit.
This is, as you say, a perennial crop that will continue long after we're gone. As long as we find the people who can continue to tend the trees, this is going to be here long after we're gone.
That's awesome. I can't believe that it only took 4 years to get those apples.
I know, that's wonderful, isn't it? Who knew that it only took that time for an apple tree to grow?
And apple picking is so fun, and there's nothing like picking it off the tree and eating it.
Well, maybe if you make an apple pie and take it out of the oven, that's pretty good too.
If you make an apple pie, I'll eat it.
Excellent.
Is that a deal?
You're a brave man.
Great.
When we come back, a local oceanographer and genius gets his due.
A message from the Upper Cape Women's Coalition.
We firmly believe that conflicts within our homes, our community, and our country can be resolved by listening to each other, learning from each other, and respecting each other.
Renewed efforts to ensure that women's lives are safe, free of fear, intimidation, and violence in our homes, at work, and in our neighborhoods, no matter where we're from, whom we love, or how we identify.
Women's bodies are respected. A healthcare system that takes our needs seriously, from research to treatment to supporting women making decisions about when and if to start a family.
Women's work is valued. We are paid and promoted equally, so we are able to retire with dignity. Women's families are supported. Policies allowing women to make responsible decisions between family and work. Women are represented from school boards to the White House, and all votes are protected and counted.
The scarecrows are out on Main Street. Once again, the Falmouth Village Association has invited nonprofits from all around town to put up a scarecrow that best represents their organization. It's a great time to support your favorite charities and just have a stroll down the sidewalk. You can vote for your favorites by liking and commenting on their official voting posts on the Falmouth Village Facebook page. The winning organization will get an award after voting is completed on Halloween night.
Love it. How's this for an award, Michael? $800,000 paid out over 5 years, no strings attached. All right, well, one string actually. The MacArthur Foundation has to recognize you as a genius.
Okay.
Yeah, something major to contribute to human knowledge. That's the honor conferred on an oceanographer who works right down the street at WHOI. We're pleased to show you this little profile produced by the MacArthur Foundation.
The ocean is an incredibly complex place but it's dictated by all these tiny processes that happen at extremely small scales. Our research is able to build bridges between these really tiny molecular scales all the way up to understanding the ocean as a whole and its role in the climate system. I am Benjamin Van Moy, and I'm an oceanographer. Plankton are microscopic organisms that live in seawater. Plankton form the very basis of the food web and feed all of the ocean. We look at the molecules that are inside these plankton called lipids. And lipids are fat molecules. These fats are a really important source of energy and nutrients for organisms in the ocean. What we're finding is that as the ocean warms, plankton may be making fewer and fewer of those healthy, unsaturated lipids. One cell may have 1 billion molecules in it. These molecules have an impact on how we understand the fate of that carbon in the upper ocean and in the food web. Phytoplankton play a really critical role in the carbon cycle, and that's because they conduct photosynthesis. When phytoplankton take up that carbon dioxide, it creates a draw on carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and some of those phytoplankton may die and sink into the deep sea. And that's what we call the process of natural carbon sequestration. The movement of carbon from CO2 in the atmosphere through the surface ocean and then down into the deep sea. So one of the central questions that oceanographers are working on right now is understanding how much carbon dioxide the oceans can take up. Carbon dioxide is increasing in the atmosphere due to human activity. And it turns out that about 1/4 of all the carbon dioxide that would have been released by human activities has actually been soaked up by the ocean. And plankton are playing a huge role in that. Ultimately, that's where I view our work as really feeding into a broader understanding of the role of the ocean in the climate system.
And while we're talking about awards for smart people, let's not neglect this item. The Marine Biological Laboratory says it's been awarded $200,000 in state funding to provide transformative science education to Massachusetts public school students. Local lawmakers Dylan Fernandez and Susan Moran were on hand to help announce this award. The funding will provide Massachusetts public school students with tuition to participate in MBL's High School Science Discovery Program and undergraduate programs, including the semester in Environmental Sciences and the semester in Biological Discovery.
I'm a junior student at Falmouth High School, and last year I had the privilege of taking the High School Discovery Program right here at MBL, and it's very brilliant fact, and it taught us a lot of crucial things. It gave us a lot of direct experience with lab discipline, laboratory practices in general, but also a lot of experience in specifically the field of microbiology was the focus of this year. And so it's actually unlocked for me and a lot of other students kind of an elevated level of passion for science.
I was there for that. I filmed that, and it was wonderful to see how excited the students were and their teachers for this opportunity. You know, and the government officials were there. It was just, the MBL was excited. It makes Falmouth so special.
It really does, and it's wonderful when everybody can come together like this to support the students, and for MBL to be able to leading this charge, it's truly amazing. And you know, like you said, the whole community does benefit.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show for the moment. I'm Michael Kasparian.
And I'm Eileen Preston. We leave you now at the finish line of this month's Cape Cod Marathon. You can kind of think of it as a really, really long version of the Falmouth Road Race. Thanks to FCTV member Juliana Coughlin for the pictures, and congratulations to all the runners. Until next time, we'll see you around town.